world of 1916 was complex. Well, the world of 1945 was complex. The world of 2016 is intensely complex. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics. And you'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously.
The air. I apologize about last Friday. I had nothing I could do. I was completely taken offline here, and it wouldn't allow me to come back into the board. It was amazing. And that's not the first time that's happened before. And then I understand that Julie then was taken out. So that's how that goes. But here we are on Monday, August 15th, 2016. And the show tonight at Swords Point, I'm going to be going over some of the issues that you will be facing and some of the lies that are being told by other media, by third party, by those that tell you that the necessity to take care of business is not necessary. That is a lie straight from the pit of hell. And those who are in control of the media, those who are in control of the alternate media, because many of that is a counterfeit. It's PSYOPs. It's CIA operatives doing their dirty work that are all everything goes back to the beast system. Now, we're going to have Julie on, of course, later. She's going to do some updates and more information on issues. Now, I wanted to bring something up before I go any further. Now, even though we're doing Tinfoil Hat Club, Julie and I still do deliverances. We still pray for people. We still do those things. Now, about 2.5 years ago, it was back when I was writing Second Heaven Invasion, and I was at a Bible study, and there was this woman who was just absolutely sick. She was in her 70s. She was widowed. She had remarried. Her husband was widowed, and in their honeymoon, they went to Greece. And he had bought her a necklace while they were there, and from the description had something to do with the moon and the stars and the sun and stuff. And they never made the connection. They thought maybe she picked something up over there. As soon as she came back to the States, she kept getting sicker and sicker. And she would go to doctors. They had good insurance. They would do all the tests. They would run everything, and they couldn't find anything. And about a year into it, she was at death's door. And she managed to get up enough energy to come to this Bible study. And there was a gal there that I had prayed for before who had a cyst in her breast. And we were at the library in Hayden, Idaho, out here in Coeur d'Alene. And with her husband there, I prayed for her, laid hands on her, and that night that cyst broke open. It drained out. She put some colloidal silver on it, and within 2 weeks, she didn't even know there was anything there. So this woman comes to me to point out how sick this other woman is that had gone to Greece. And she had been reading my transcripts of my book and saw about jewelry and cursing and those things. And she said, do you think there has anything to do with the jewelry that they had bought and brought back? And they explained it to me. I don't think she had it with her at the time. And I said, absolutely. In fact, I got it in my spirit, and with that woman who approached me, we confirmed. We got a confirmation, 2 people. And so I prayed over her. I broke what is ever off of it, and I told her, I said, look, now what I want you to do is to make a promise that when you get home, you're going to anoint it. Go over here next door. It was over by what we call Sower's Bookstore, and they've got anointing oil there frankincense, and go back and renounce it. Ask for forgiveness for every involvement of such things, because if you're a professing Christian, if you're one who is in Christ, and you give yourself, you have nothing to do with evil. Okay. Now they even took it one step further, that it was a very expensive piece. So I understand them not wanting to get rid of it, because gold is gold. And I said, well then, I even made the suggestions, melt it down. Once you've renounced it and it's no longer in that image and you've asked for forgiveness, it's a done deal. Because it's just gold. It was whatever curse was placed onto it, okay? So they did that. Well, last week or the week before, I don't remember now. Now, I remember this woman was she was 71, so now we're talking she's 74, something like that, 73, 74. Maybe 75. I don't remember how old she was. But anyways, so I happened to run into her at the gym, and she's bouncing around like a young girl, pumping iron, doing all the stuff. Just absolutely amazing, and even for her age. And you got to remember, she was on death's door. So if anyone ever tells you that demons cannot inhabit an object, that curses do not exist, they are a liar. And I get so tired, and I want to discuss my attitude about last week too. I get so tired of these local pastors here in the Coeur d'Alene area and all over the United States who are morons, who do not comprehend or want to or know, and they're lying to you intentionally to keep you in bondage. Do you understand? See, this is what this show is all about, to get you to comprehend that there's a war against you, that those who have gone into the 501c3s, those who have gone to the seminaries, those who have sworn an oath to Lucifer to destroy you. And so now listen to this, if she'd have gone to a pastor, if she'd have gone to any other means than me, maybe that woman would have helped her out, because she was already pretty up on that, and plus her healing that she got, right? But the point of it is, they would have just said, we'll pray for you, and they would have never broken the curse. They would have never done anything, and I bet you that woman would have been dead right now, instead of being at that gym and enjoying her life and her husband, as they should in their age. See, do people understand now what is going on? This is a classic example that if she had gone through any other means, she'd probably be dead, or so sick in the bed that she would never be able to get up, and her husband, I just can't even imagine. They're just, I think he's even older. He may have been more like 80. And you just, what do you do? I mean, we need to think about old age, and so I want to address some things here, but let me connect again with the attitude. Now, when I did Second Heaven Invasion and I did all the teachings, 30 hours of each chapter of the book Second Heaven Invasion, which you can get from Kindle if you type my name in, Scott Hensler. I've got 3 books. I've got Borderline Personality, I've got Second Heaven Invasion, and the condensed version, which is Hoodoo Voodoo, which is in paper form, as well as Kindle, which is purchasable through my website at scotthensler.org. But the point is that when I was doing these shows, I was still in the mindset that I was going to have success with these local churches. I was going to be able to have a breakthrough, and this was 3 years prior to now, even though there's an urgency of comprehension of circumstances, that we are being hurled at warp speed towards the brick wall. You ever see, it's funny, years ago, I actually had a security job at Dynamic Systems. You ever watch when they crash dummy? They take cars and they put dummies in them and they smash them into the wall. Well, that's what this company did. And I mentioned one night I was a little bored and I was walking around and I went upstairs and I opened up this door and there was no switch on the wall for the light. So I had to go. From the light outside in the hall, I could kind of see the old-fashioned bulb hanging in the middle with the pull chain. And so I go in there and I pull on that chain, and all the way around the wall were all the broken dummies that they crashed. Now, if that doesn't freak you out, I don't know what will. It's amazing I didn't lose it and go running out of there. But my point is that we are in time that the urgency of the reality of those things that are being done to us, that if we do not understand it, if we reject it, it will mean death. Because they are working night and day to destroy you and me. Now, for the past 4 or 5 days, they've let up on the microwaves at me. So I've actually been doing pretty good. I've got some energy again. They were just amazing what this stuff is. Now, see, this is crimes against humanity. I am a citizen of the United States, and my government, which is supposed to be under the rules of the Constitution, is only in place because of the ruling that the people gave it to them. Said, look, here's this power, you protect us. And they swore an oath. Well, they are liars. They are Luciferians. Some of them aren't even humans. Okay? And so we have this tyranny. Tyranny is when the people fear the government. Freedom is when the government fears the people. So we're in this tyranny, and they have all this equipment, all this electronic means, through microwave and everything else. We've talked about that, and I'm going to be going into more depth about that. I'm really hitting it hard on some things, because with those who do such things, they are evil, and there's a point in time that you come into agreement with evil. You have a choice to make. We're given free choice, and these doctrines that teach you that we don't have free choice. Ladies and gentlemen, read the Bible. Read the New Testament. Put the old one aside for a little bit, and go through John. Make sure that Paul is, the Corinthians and Galatians and Thessalonians and these, that you read them, because they give us so much information on who we are and what our job is, Matthew as well, and what we're supposed to do. Now, if you believe any other doctrine, then you're going to believe in a different Jesus, or not comprehend the power of the Holy Spirit. No ifs, ands, or buts. And by that means of dividing you, of betraying you, because this information coming from the pulpit should have been the truth, and it's not, then we're in bondage. We're under a lie, which in itself is a curse. And on Tuesday night, tomorrow night, I'm going to continue with Freemasonry, renouncing and breaking that curse, the hoodwink. Okay? Now, the point of it is that there's all this information that, like pre-trib rapture, we're going to get raptured out of here. There's no need to store food. There's no need to store water. I'm going to put a challenge to you. Now, maybe some of you aren't medically up for the challenge, and I get that. Some of you are on medications. You're still getting healed. God's still working with you. But if you were to go several days without any food whatsoever, now you need water, okay? And in fact, when you fast, let's just consider it a fasting. Some will go, well, you need to eat nuts and all that. No, I mean zero food, just water. And what you'll find, if you don't drink water, you'll get a headache because you're actually detoxing. But I want you to understand that about 3 or 4 days into it, you start to become weak. Get on a bike and try and ride up a hill. Okay? Go up a flight of stairs, and you'll find that you're not you, and that the energy that you once had is gone because you're not supplementing it. You're actually now starting to feed on your body. See, when you start to lose weight like that, it's not a good idea, because you're actually not just eating on the fat, but you're actually taking away the muscle. Now you understand those in concentration camps during World War II, regardless of whatever the circumstances were, they were skin and bones because they lost muscle, okay? Now, and what's coming, if you don't have food and water, And those who tell you that you don't need it, they're lying to you, or they're incredibly ignorant. And I'm starting to see more of that it's a lie, because there's some out there from the pulpit. One individual actually said, well, I had 2 years of food and water and ammunition, and when I realized I was going to be raptured out of here, then I sold it all. You are a liar. You're here as a crypto Jew. You're here as a plant to facilitate and to perpetuate the lie of pre-trib rapture in order to keep the people here in the local Coeur d'Alene area in bondage, to believe a lie. Because if you do not have water, and I'm going to go through this, and some of you already know about this, and now you need to remember, too, that when I was in law enforcement, I was a desert survival trainer. I was a tracker. I was map and compass, National Association of Search and Rescue certified as incident commander or managing a search function. So I wasn't just someone out in the field. I could run. I was certified and recognized to run a search. When you are in the deserts and someone is lost and the temperature is 100, 105, 110, 115, they're not going to last long. So the understanding of the circumstances, the terrain, the person, what they can and can't do. Are they a child? Because there's another thing, a child, their little bodies, they don't have as much moisture in them, so they perish much quicker. So the comprehension of those things necessary to survive is absolutely necessary. And again, water. Water is the key to keep you alive. Now, when FEMA, the martial laws, and those things that are implemented onto us, and they will be, whether it's after an EMP attack, whether it's the martial law thing coming, the duress that we'll be in itself will cause emotional issues where you drain your own energy. Your adrenal glands are taxed. So you're going to use up things because of your stress levels. Okay, do you understand? Now, they're going to be using issues of force on us, whether it's through electronics, whether it's through blue helmets, the troops, or whatever the deal is. The whole point is for slavery to enslave, period. In that, they control. Okay? Now, this is, again, violating the Constitution, okay, for them to incorporate this without trial, evidence, or even a crime, okay? So this is an invasion. This is war against the citizens of the United States. Now, they will inflict their authority to rule over, causing a type of monarchy. Now, I want to mention, too, that the Bushes and the Clintons are a type of monarchy. Okay, they're a bad you-know-what that won't go away. And I see that Hillary's got another death in her closet, another skeleton she can throw in there with the father of the gentleman that released his medical records showing that she was incompetent, that she has dementia, but we also know that she's a clone of some type, and whatever it is just having a breakdown. Now, the monarchy, you also see with Queen Elizabeth, the British rule. Now, food, you can survive, 21 days or so, but it's not fun. But you need to remember that's in a environment that is reasonable. Otherwise, you're at home. But you get into the cold, you get into the heat, you get into terrain areas like you get lost when you're hiking or something. You have to climb up and you have to climb down. You burn up that energy real fast. So when they say 21 days, where like some gal actually survived like 40-something days, but the thing of it is under those environments, controlled environments, you will. But when you're in the elements, that's not the case. So then you take water away, you're going to last 3 to 5 days. Now, again, that's under controlled environments. You put someone in the desert, it may only be 3 hours, it may be 5, it may be 10, but the point of it is, and then the smaller the person is, all right? So again, with this weakness and if you're fasting, the weakness and the exhaustion that comes along is an indication to show you what awaits you if you do not put away food and water for what's coming. Now, they say, well, they're just going to confiscate it anyways. Well, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what, pal? 1 week into it, you're going to be happy that you put something away before they come and take it, because at least you can think, at least you can be tactical, at least you can comprehend the situation to combat these individuals, because you have a legality to protect your family. You need to do those things necessary to make sure that they're safe. And if you're weak and if you're sick, you're going to be worthless. Do you understand that? So this lie that's out there, and I don't care who it is, whoever it is, tell them and have them call me. I'll ream them a good one, because I've got my data. Like I said, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to survival, because I was one of the trainers for the agencies in Arizona and certified. So I'm not talking here just for out of my you know what. Now, when it comes to fighting and tactical, you need your wits. You need to be sharp about it. Okay, that's one of the things that makes a good officer. It's one of the things that makes a good soldier. Okay, there are those that were never meant to be a leader. There are those that were never meant to be the one in charge. They've got other skills. They've got other things they can do. There is a gifting given to individuals, and even the best person that is given the gift to lead, to be the tactical, to be the one to pull someone out, if they are sick, if they are weak, if they are dehydrated, if their body is feeding upon itself without food, they're not going to be much good, period. Okay? Now, starvation basically comes in about 3 weeks. Now, I did a video that I put together, I don't know, a couple months back. It's on YouTube from my website, ScottHensler.org. I think it's Scott Hensler Network Ministries that you'll go to YouTube. And it's cannibalism. And cannibalism, on an average, starts about 15 days. Now, North Korea is at an epidemic level of cannibalism, because the crazy man up there is literally causing his own people to starve. And we find that it isn't just people who die that they feed upon. Just in the Old Testament, that they'll actually start eating the young first. Do you understand that? So if you have a newborn, if you have a young child right now, and you're 20 days into it, and there's a crowd out front, who do you think they're going to take? Wake up, people. Okay? Now, troops, too, by the way. In fact, the hybrids, the super soldiers, these guys, they're not human. Human blood with the iron and the supplements in it and the fat and the skin tissues and the bone or the meat, even bone marrow, by the way, is an incredible thing to regenerate your body if you're starving. If you find an animal, they're going to be eating as they go along. They're not going to have to carry their own rations. So if you have a regiment, if you have a troop of people that are soldiers, you need to keep them fed. You need to have water for them, because even as soldiers, they'll be worthless. I mean, there's incredible fighters out there, but it's not the general rule across the table. Do you understand? It's just a select few. So again, if you have the stomach for it, you might want to check out my video on cannibalism. It's an eye-opener. Now, power alone, if the power goes dead and you're not able to have water pumped into the house, if you're not able to, that the sewage system backs up and you're not even able to flush things out of the house, which again takes water. It's one of the reasons, if you know there's going to be an issue, fill the water tub up. You know, there's also water in the reservoir above the toilet, which is, not appealing, but it is a storage of water that can be used for other things. And so just think along that lines. Okay, if you know that there's a storm coming, if you know that there's an implementation of martial law or even a confiscation or whatever they're going to do, like Jade Helm and some of these things, you may want to just fill the tub up. You know what I mean? There's just some things that would really, see, because 3-4 days into it, you're going to wish you did. Okay? Because the pumps, no pumps, no water. Okay? And not clean water. Okay? So there's filters. Now, on my website at scotthensler.org, I have a tab on there you'll see for emergency supplies. It's only a recommendation of the basic things. Okay? And with examples. And communication is a big thing, too. If you're able to have CBs, if you're able to have the GRS radios, FRS radios, GMRS radios, if you're able to get your ham license or if you're willing to buy the equipment, believe me, I've got it. I'm going to utilize it. And I did a video on that, too, on the ManPack. You'll see posted on there, which is a communication device that can do close range, VHF, like the police radios, and then shortwave, HF, that could literally bring me into the other states. I can listen to broadcasts around the world, and on certain circumstances for propagation, I can get into other countries, okay? All right. Now, the other thing is whenever you have death, whenever you have destruction, and the inability for emergency services, because if there's no power, there's not going to be the ability to pump gas. Without gas, you're not going to have fire trucks. Without gas, you're not going to have emergency vehicles. So there's going to be a lot of death and destruction, whether the power is brought out by EMPs or whatever the circumstance. They could just shut everything down. And remember, everything's internet controlled now. Even though they're on their own network, they still use internet. And they can just push the button, boom, it's all done, okay? So whenever you have people who perish, you're going to have contamination. You're going to have decomposition of a human body that is a biohazard. Now, that brings rodents. Rodents in itself is a biohazard. Now, I want to discuss that even here in Idaho and Washington up north, we have issues with wild dogs. Dogs will revert back to what they are, and they'll pack. You can have a small dog and a big dog, and then there'll be an alpha male that will run the pack. And we've had that here up in Idaho. Now, when I was in Pine Ridge last year, the week before I was there, a 16-year-old girl in the town of Pine Ridge was killed by wild dogs. It's a problem there on the reservation. Now, in Arizona, where I'm from, and the Salt River, which runs down through Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, all the way through the Hacienda to the Gila. We've talked about those rivers before and the crimes that had to do with the killing of some Buddhists. And so you get these dogs that get away, they get out of the backyard or whatever, and somehow they find their way down to this riverbed and they'll pack. So several times a year, the county will come through and they'll get these dogs. Because if you get somebody that goes on a hike or they're out four-wheeling or whatever it is out in the deserts that come down through Arizona, through Tempe and Mesa, people have been attacked by these dogs. And we've got the same issue up here in northern Idaho along the border of Washington. So those are the other things you're going to be dealing with because their owners are going to be dead. Now, animals have an incredible means of survival. They can eat and drink just about anything, better than humans can. And so they've got a high survival probability. Okay? Now, there's also going to be an uprising. There's going to be lawlessness. There's going to be those that will gang in their own rituals, their own governments. There's, just like I was mentioning, Jones State, the State of Jones, that movie that's out. There's a good example right there that when you have groups of people that have separated themselves from others, then they have their own rules, they have their own laws, they have their own people who run it, their own government kind of thing. Now, when it comes to martial law isn't technically to keep the peace as they want to tell you. It's for continuity of government. Do you hear what I just said? It's got nothing to do with protecting you. It's about those who are the elite, those who are up at the top, to be able to maintain their positions of power and of wealth, okay, and those things that they've accumulated, whether they have underground bases, whether they immediately go up into whatever areas. The whole thing is for continuity of government, and so the people are secondhand. The people are basically done. So there you go. I mean, what else you do? Now, again, with all the doctrines that are out there to cause us to think one way or another, that in any of these circumstances, the really only true way out of this is Jesus Christ. But, though a man does not take care of his family, he is considered an infidel. So if you have a family, gentlemen, you need to get food and water. Now, regardless of what the circumstances are, the fact of being able to be supplied for at least a couple of days gives the ability for you to still have the strength to take care of your family. Okay? Very important, all right? Now, again, we saw all throughout the Old Testament of starvation. Again, even people eating their children. There was even an exchange that took place, and one didn't come through with it. I mean, it's just amazing, absolutely heartbreaking, and this is taking place over the world. So the main point of it is to protect yourself, to protect your family, and this way, that when God calls you, okay, even though he's going to pour out his Spirit, and if he needs you, he'll bring you up, but if you're in the frame of mind, if you're spiritually ready, and you're not in fear, okay, because that's the other thing, if you're weak and you're sick, then fear has an easier way of coming upon you. You'll take the mark. You'll do things that you normally wouldn't do. All right? I just need to get you guys into that frame of mind. Stop listening to these people who do not have your best interest in mind. God wishes that none should perish, and you need to start by taking care of yourself. Love yourself. That's one of the commandments of God, and that means that we have worth. We are treasured. We are loved by God. And so let's take care of ourselves. If you have something that's of worth, you take care of it. Take care of yourself. All right? So again, these third parties that put you in, that tell you don't need to, you have to question why would they do such things. I mean, I felt strongly that I needed to bring this up. Okay? I mean, you don't have to buy the $100 pack. Go down and get yourself some canned foods, okay? So it's not going to be this wonderful meal. So it's not going to be as it was. No, it's not. But when you're really hungry and you need the energy to take care of your family, that can of chunky, whatever it is, believe me, will be enough to sustain you and bring energy to you that you're going to be able to take care of business. All right, Julie, I'm going to put you off mute here. I know you've got some stuff. But I wanted to again, that in my attitude, what I mean from changing when I was writing about Second Heaven Invasion, I had a more of a continuity of not being so aggressive, assertive, but the time is short, and I'm seeing the lies that are out there, and I'm enraged by it because it means your destruction. It makes me angry that someone wants to hurt you. It's the way I was built. Ever since I was a kid, when I'd see a big kid picking on a little one, I'd jump in. It's the way I was. And this is where we're at. And it's one of the reasons I'm a deliverance minister, because I can't stand to see people abused. And so if you think I'm mad and angry at you, I'm not. I'm just enraged for the fact that the Christians are standing down, and it just saddens me. All right, Julie, it's all yours. Take it.
Well, I've been looking again online of what's been going on, and I keep seeing the number 44, and one of the things that was kind of brought up to me by a listener in Michigan is there's a certain person that does these videos and what have you and this and that. And she said that she had listened to him, a lot, and then she was telling me that he said certain things. So I went and checked it out, and so I've known about this person for a couple of years. Or a year or so, but I haven't really been paying attention to everything he says. But I decided I better go look because there's several people have mentioned this person. So, like you said, that the listening to these people that are not telling the truth, I think that's probably, I mean, I hear your frustration, and we talk about this all the time, that it's like, you just know that people are they're so vulnerable because they don't, especially when they've been brought up in a church. If you're not, brainwashed into any one of these cult religions, and that's every church is a cult. Every one of them, they're all started by Lucifer. So if you're, not brainwashed in that area, and you're just, maybe not a believer in anything like that, you probably would have an easier time understanding this stuff. But, most of the people who've been in the Christian churches and what have you are really just handicapped in a lot of ways because of the brainwashing that's been done to them. And so you start thinking about this stuff, and I see these comments about this person or that person, and what I can tell you is that when I see them do certain things, I just understand what they're doing. And I know that it's difficult. I think I was explaining that we've been taught, people have been taught to not look at what it really is. Don't, oh, well, she's nice, but she's just having, or this or this, or, We've been taught to not look at things for what they are, but to find a reason around it, an excuse around it, like Donald Trump. These supposed Christians, we're going to vote for him, and yeah. Well, their excuse is that a couple of people, on these TBN crazy preacher shows had a vision, or God gave them a word or something. And it's like, look, if this man is doing the same thing that all the rest of the people are doing that are up there in the globalist agenda, if he's throwing up the inverted pyramid and the 666 and the devil horns, if he's doing all that stuff, how the heck are you going to tell me he's different from somebody else, from Hillary Clinton that's doing it? I mean, are you brain dead? Do you not see what's going on? They're all doing the same thing. They're all in every one of them are in an elite club, and you ain't part of it, okay? You need to get it through your head. When people are throwing up the goat head and doing this, they're telling you who they are. So don't tell me because some pink-headed lady on TBN said, God gave me a vision. You know what? That woman's going to hell. Do you understand she's a reptilian? She's not even human. These people are not humans you're listening to on those crazy channels. They're reptilians, okay? And you're listening to somebody up there throwing up the goat head and doing the 666 and the pyramid and all this other stuff, and you think for some reason they're telling you the truth. It's beyond me, Scott. It's absolutely beyond me. And so I think, gosh, they have literally taught the people in the churches to not know who their enemy is. They've taught them to not know, not recognize their own enemies. And what I said to you one day, Scott, it's been a long time ago when I said this, I said, do you think it's unreasonable or whatever, but don't you think maybe like what I try to teach people on this show about the occult and how they work and what they do and that they have secret languages and this is what goes. And I said to you, shouldn't this be taught in the church too, so that people will understand what they're looking at instead of thinking just because someone says they believe in Jesus doesn't mean they do. They're talking about another Jesus. And you said absolutely that everything that I have shown you guys on this show for last year and now, it should be taught in these churches so people they can see all these people and what they're doing. And I thought, you know what, the people don't look at they don't look at the guys standing up there throwing up the goat head. In fact, it's so bad. Do you know, Scott, that I've had these people that Christian church people tell me, Katy Perry didn't. She's okay. I said, she just said, I sold my soul to the devil. Well, she didn't mean it. She didn't mean that. None of them mean it. They say that, but they're just doing that for shock value so they can make more money. So now, not only do they not listen to what they say, but if they say something they don't want to hear, they'll just chalk it up to, they don't mean it. So now they've been so brainwashed to ignore what people even say now, whatever they confess to, whatever they, And here's Lady Gaga. If you don't get this right, I'm gonna, I swear to Lucifer. This is what she says. And you're like, so she just said, I swear to Lucifer. Well, okay. Well, and then the Christians say, she's just saying that for shock value. It's like, you know what? This is the problem, is that you guys have to be very careful, because your enemy is walking about on the earth to and fro looking for someone to devour. That would be you. He's always watching. The serpent is very patient, very sly, and will do anything and say anything to get you in their good graces, even if that means telling you a bunch of truth. As long as they don't tell you the truth that you need to know to be able to take care of your family, take care of yourself, and to know who the real Jesus is. Okay? That's what they're doing. So, Scott, I know exactly how you feel, and we talk about this all the time when these people are showing themselves as to who they are, and people don't. They look at that and go, everybody throws up those hand signs. No, they don't. I don't. I mean, so it's something that they do, and it's a secret language, and I've actually read that and shown that that's a secret language in the occult, and that's just the way it works. So I absolutely know when you're, sorry, whenever you get frustrated because people don't want to listen to what you're saying. So I absolutely get it. But one of the people I noticed was saying things is making really wild statements about how we are fallen angels and we're down here to earn our way back to heaven. That's what I was reading. We're fallen angels, and then this guy is saying the same thing, and he claims to be a fallen angel that's trying to earn his way back into heaven. And so I actually did listen to him and some of the stuff he was saying, and what he ended up saying was not only is he a fallen angel, but he also was talking about Trump not being part of the network, the cabal. He's not part of any of that, saying that he's a good guy. Well, immediately you tell me that Michael the Archangel came down out of heaven and met you in an alley and told you what you were going to be doing. You got your orders straight from him, and now you work for Jesus Christ, Heavenly Father, and you're going to sit there and tell me that Trump, who throws up the pyramid, every picture I've ever seen of him, he's doing it. Every one, bar none. And all of these other symbol, not only that, but he wears the tie and the jacket. He's telling you right there, the pink tie, the red tie with the dark jacket, he's telling you where he belongs, which one he belongs to. Okay, so this is what he's doing, and you're going to tell me that this guy is of Jesus Christ when he's going to come out and support a man who is absolutely wicked. I mean, the guy's in on every bit of that, okay? He doesn't do anything different than anybody else does. So you're going to tell me that somehow this guy's different. So I just want you guys to be aware. I did a little checking on this man, and I decided to do some numerology with him. His name just so happens to equal 44 in Chaldean numerology and Pythagorean numerology, okay? On his YouTube page thing, he has the bell, and I talked about the symbolism of the bell, Pacific bell, Ma bell, candlestick park, the candlestick, you know, the bell that's on the altar, and before you do a ritual, you ring the bell in a counterclockwise motion 9 times, because 9 is Satan's number. Okay, and then you put the bell, and everything has to do with the bell. Liberty Bell, Ma Bell, it is absolutely part of the entire occult thing. That's the whole thing, all of it. Silver bells, deck the halls with whatever, and all that stuff, all of it. They'll have bells and holly, and the whole thing is occult. All of anything referencing the bell, okay? And I already talked about that on the previous show. So when I saw him with one of his icons is the bell, and then he has the numbers around the bell, and they go counterclockwise. And I went, oh boy, here we go, okay? And then he put out a video on August the 8th, and he put out the video talking about the H, the Twin Towers, and that it forms an H and whatever. So what I noticed was it was 8816. Well, it just so happens that his name in numerology, and along with the two and three different types of numerology, it ends up being 8816, and the video was on 8816. I mean, it's all these coincidences keep coming up with all of this stuff, and I keep thinking, you know, the guy is being who he's saying that he's of Jesus, he's of this, and then he said that the Hoover Dam was going to break on such and such date, and that passed months and months ago. That never happened. So I was able to dig that up. And so bottom line is I have found this person everywhere in the numerology, in the gematria. I've found him everywhere. And everything is coming up 44, 44, 88, 88. So I just want you guys to be aware that when Jonathan Kleck tells you that all this stuff's going to happen, and it doesn't happen, which evidently it did not. The Hoover Dam's still intact, and tells you he's a fallen angel, and then I start running the numbers on him, and I'm coming up with 44 all over the place. We got a problem, folks. It's a problem. So for all of you guys that listen to that, you know what? You're going to get a little bit of truth. But do you really know what part is truth and what part is lies? Because if you believe Trump, then you obviously don't have a very good lie meter. Your lie detector is broken. You might want to stay away from the people that throw in a little bit of lies with all that truth, because obviously you're having trouble detecting what's true and what's not. So I would advise you to stay away from people like that. Okay? And if he has a problem with it, he can ring me right on up. My number's accessible. But I do not want you guys listening to people that put a lot of truth out but put in a little bit of lies. I don't want you to do that, because every time you listen to people like that, you are accepting demons that they're spewing, because they're sending demons out with everything they say. That's their job. You know, that's their job. Some guy tells you he works for DARPA, and he's a Christian, right? He's got the Holy Spirit, and he works for DARPA, and he speaks out against all this stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, there isn't a human being alive that works for DARPA. There's no humans at DARPA. Get it through your head. That's Satan's baby. Those are all reptilians. There's no humans in the NSA. The CIA has been absolutely all taken over by reptilians, and there's only 4% of the people in the FBI are reptilians. Okay? are human. So you need to understand these people that tell you these things are absolutely insane. And I explain to you how when you are on the dark side, you have the ability to see light in other people. You can see if they're walking with the Holy Spirit, because it emanates off of them like a white light. Okay? And if I can see it with demon help, don't tell me that this guy walks into DARPA at work, he goes into work every morning, and every one of those children of the fallen angels and all the demons there don't see the Holy Spirit coming. He wouldn't even get past the front door. He wouldn't even he'd get across the street outside the building, And then every security camera would be picking him up saying, we got one out front, out front. He wouldn't even be allowed in that building. So don't tell me that these people are telling you the truth, because I'm here to tell you they're lying to you. They just want to suck you in, and they want to take you for a ride, and they don't want you to go to heaven. You know, that's the main thing right there, Scott. They don't want these people to live. You know, when you talk about 44, you talk about things like, set, and all of these horrible. I mean, it's bad. The things that it means, Baalbek. I mean, we all know that's a false god, and that's what this stuff actually means. It means stuff like set and kill and cancer, which is to kill. It means magic. Boaz, you have the 44, which is actually a master number, and it's one of the master numbers, and it's supposed to be the master number, the lock to unlock the universe. That's how they look at it. Okay, that's how the occultists prize that number. So, and you need to, and harp is also, alien is also associated with 44. Dante, which we all know about that, is associated with 44. So remember that people, these things don't just happen by accident. You end up looking at someone's numbers, and then you look at the dates they do the videos, and you know what? It doesn't add up. Things just do not add up. And to me, you just can't continue to have so many things piling up that just start, just show who somebody is. The number, just like 33, 33, 33, just keeps coming up over and over. And then we saw the 44 with the Orlando thing, and then up in the Minneapolis thing, the 44th parallel. Here we go again. So, you know what, Scott, I understand exactly how you feel. And you and I have talked about this, and I've been in tears before, because I just think, please, God, don't let these people go. Don't let them be deceived, because, the people that listen to us, regularly, it's not, I feel protective over them. It's not their fault, that they were brainwashed, but please, they're vulnerable. When they start dropping all these belief systems, they're very vulnerable to being picked off by another false doctrine. And I think that's what worries me the most, Scott.
Well, the Civil War was a classic example of that. What was it, 1864, around in that time, when Mormonism was making its debut, the people were so broken and so wounded that they were looking for any spiritual faith to bring them out of their depression. I mentioned that, let me turn my mic down just a bit. I mentioned that that the psycho wards that were in Buffalo, they were built because of the massive wave of depression that overcame the people after the war. And so Mormonism was just perfect. It was just right for the picking to come in to capture people into a false doctrine. And in that false doctrine, which is manifested today, is this incredible corporation that even owns and runs Pepsi, I believe it is, and some of the others, which use, that's the oxymoron of that, is because Pepsi is one of the main companies of soft drinks that uses the kidneys of aborted fetuses for sugar. So here's a supposable religious group, right? Whether it's Coca-Cola or one of the others, they all use this in some way or another. Anytime that you have a drink that is pre-sweetened, chances are that's what it is. But with this lie, see, Satan deceiveth the whole world. What part of that do we not understand? So obviously that the lie is so intricate, so woven in, so ingrained, a thread that runs through everything, that this is how we've grown up. This is all we know, and so it's hard to bring people into that realization. So the name of the game, just like you were saying, Julie, is to basically get us out of relationship with God. Okay, to know the Father is to know Jesus Christ. No one comes to the Father except through Christ. And so by your lack of faith or your deception into another Jesus, that takes place. And so what's experienced? The second death, after hell, okay? The lake of fire, as we see in Revelation. And getting to DARPA is one of the main avenues of the mind control psychotronics that we've been talking about. The implementation of these high technologies to control the mind, to cause pain compliance. So anybody that's with DARPA or claims to be with DARPA, I don't care what they say their faith is, you cannot serve two masters. Now, I've made the statement before, and let me set the stage for this. Okay, when my career wasn't just of law enforcement. I've been in electronic engineering, controls, radio transmitters, all kinds of stuff ever since I was a kid. That's just the way I was. And I was hired on by Motorola in 1983. And that was the year that I got my amateur radio license. I should have got it 10 years early, but that's when I got it. And Motorola had, and probably still does, well, now it's called Freescale and General Dynamics and OnSemi. They had an amateur radio club. Well, who do you think would be in that club at Motorola? Well, it was all the eggheads. It was all the brains. It was all the people that were nerds and everything else, but they were high-tech in radio communications. They had the transponders, the technology for cell phones, all of this stuff. That's where these guys came from. So I used to bump elbows with them. That's how I ended up meeting the guy that was one of the founders of the Iridium system. And one of the main topics because they would have classes to teach the other guys more in depth about radio communications. Because also Motorola is the leader in communications for public service, fire trucks, fire, military, all right? So these are the big hitters there in Scottsdale, Arizona, and that's where I was at. And so I sat through the teachings, through the seminars on communications after the bomb's been dropped, or several bombs, suitcase bombs, whether it's, fire from the sky, whatever the deal is. When a nuclear bomb goes off with the radiation that's emitted, with the particles that are in the air, that VHF in itself, UHF, all the way through microwave is basically going to be worthless. So it's one of the reasons they don't want to just do that. Okay, even an EMP would eliminate the mind control. Okay? So they don't want to do that just yet. They may threaten you with it. They may do this and that. It may be a resort that they feel they have to do. But anytime you take out the cell phones, which is what it'll do, the satellites won't be able to beam through because they're all microwave, and microwave will not get through the particles in the atmosphere. Microwave has trouble getting through rain. That's why it works so well for Doppler radar, for your weather radar, because it bounces off so easily. So this is a technology vulnerable to this. And what I'm getting at is that there's been discussions about those who were in DARPA, or say they are, that have devices that will be that we could buy now and that we could use for communications in these disastrous times. Okay, so I just gave you the reason why microwave won't work, period. Now, you got to remember, these are the big guys at Motorola that I was learning this from. Okay, I was 28 years old. I was starving for information. These guys were like gods to me, and the stuff that they taught us was these were the old guys too, so they weren't part of the new brainwashed group that took over. Okay, so I was in there just at the last of that. So these guys were telling us what to be prepared for. And the point of it is that amateur radio shortwave, or HF, because of the nuclear fallout, because of those things that causes interference, that if anything's going to make it through, either voice communication or Morse code in the HF shortwave region. So if anyone tells you that they work for DARPA and tells you they have something magical that they're willing to sell you, that will be usable during those times, there's no way that when you run the math that's going to work. Plus, that means a network, and the only network that's going to be accessible will be those of the federal government and military, which are one and the same. And you think, as a citizen who's running for their life, that they're going to let you on that network? And like I said, the microwave or the VHF, UHF is not going to work anyways. Microwave starts above that in the UHF areas. So everything that we see, everything that's portrayed, we need to be wise as serpents, because if you can't verify it, then you're going to be believing what they say. Most people don't have the technology behind them to comprehend and understand all this. I feel very fortunate that I got to know these guys and that I did what I did. You know, Julie, there's just so much that's now starting to come forward of all the stuff that I've been through, the stuff that I've seen, the people that I've known. It's all coming together like some kind of puzzle. And it's amazing. And we've talked about that I knew this person, I knew that person, I know this technology. And thank goodness, thank you, Lord Jesus, because it's been able to bring me to this point. And then, yes, there was a point where I had to then get away from science and start understanding the spirit realm, which was a crash course in 95 through 2000, and then in 2000 is when I joined the Deliverance Ministries. And through getting away from having to see with my own eyes to those things of physical, that I had to transform over to spiritual. So I'm old school and I'm new school. And I've been able to combine the two together. And I haven't really met too many people that have done that. They're either one way or the other. I know people in the Deliverance Ministry that will never accept psychotronic technology. I know people in psychotronic technology or know of it that don't comprehend the spirit realm. And when I say the spirit realm, as someone who professes to be a bondservant of Jesus Christ, I'm talking about being under the Holy Spirit. Okay? Jesus said that I must go, that another come. And that means that as we stand forth and move as who we are, okay, as I mentioned about the show tonight for the, at Sword's Point, that whenever I take authority, I'll even say, at Sword's Point, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to come out. And because I've done such in my faith and in my spoken word into the spirit realm, that the demons have to obey. And they do. And Julie, you know that. Now, of course, we get a wild card once in a while. We get a stinker that doesn't want to really play along with the game. But generally what we found is that there's an open door. There's a curse in the family. There's still a, quote, legal right. And that causes us not to get to the next step. And so that's when we just, okay, we're just going to go back in prayer. All right, Father, you know all things. That in the name of Jesus Christ, may the Holy Spirit come in like a searchlight into this individual and find those things that are unclean, those things that have them in bondage. And boom, sure enough, a word of knowledge comes up. And then we can go after it. So, but what they've done to those who are professing Christians, what they've done to us in the schools, the media that has brainwashed everybody, we're in a very bad time. And so that's why I'm, again, part of the show tonight about getting things correct, getting things right, getting back into relationship, getting things ready for it, because you need to be physically, spiritually ready for the fight. All right? Now, whatever God has started, He's going to finish. Whatever good works He has started, He's going to finish. And so if you're a work in progress, take the initiative to be obedient. Say, yes, I am going to submit to you, Father. I am going to do those things that you have commanded through your Son. Because through any of the means is disobedience, is lawless. And in that lawlessness, then I'm out of favor with you. And when I'm out of favor with you, then I'm not under divine direction. And if you're not under divine direction, you're going to be under demonic control. Many of you think you hear from the Holy Spirit. Many of you, and again, this psychotronic issue is another problem. But the point of it is the more you get cleaned up, the more the Holy Spirit works in the discernment that you have. That's worth its weight in gold, because that is what's going to survive you. And if you lose your life, you save it because you did it in the service. Okay, just like an officer who loses his life on duty, then there is a Julie, you came close to that. That in that, then there's to be compensated. The widow of the family is compensated. But let's say the officer dies of natural causes, then that same compensation is not going to take place. There'll be some insurance, there'll be some of this or that, but not through the other means. And so, if you lose your life in the service of God, then there will be crowns. There'll be the relationship. You'll be with your Father. You'll be in one of the mansions that Jesus is preparing while He's away. I mean, what a win-win. So how do you beat that? And before I turn it over to you, Julie, I want to thank everyone for supporting us. This has been some interesting months, but through your support, what you've done for us here has really helped, and I just thank you. And I mentioned too that I'm probably going to take Scott Hensler Network on Tuesdays and Thursdays and combine it. So then it'll be Monday through Friday just on Tinfoil Hat Club to reduce costs a little bit. Not that it's outrageous, but every penny towards the right direction helps. So, all right, Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. So, well, everything you're saying about discernment and what have you, if you actually have all these demons that you have not been delivered from, that is a major problem. And they like to confuse you that they act like they're the Holy Spirit. And I had no idea that people actually didn't know that they were talking to demons. I was shocked. And they'll fight you to the death. Nope, that's the Holy Spirit. I've been talking to Him my whole life, and I'm going, no, that's a demon. Demons talk like that. God can't talk like that. That's demonic, And I can just tell by what these demons say to people, just whatever they say, and especially when they say, and the Holy Spirit said this and this and this and this and this, and I'm going, no, that was a demon, because God does not chitty-chat. There's no Holy Spirit chit-chat. He gives you what you need to know, and, that's it. It's over. That's the way it works. And if He did, then you wouldn't be able to tell Him from the demons. And if you remember in the Bible, I always tell people, go back to your book. Read the book. How many times, what is written in the Bible, did you see God just hanging out, chitty-chatting with everybody? He didn't do it. He gave them these tablets and said, now, do that, and don't do that. There you go. I mean, Jesus was a man of few words. I mean, what did He say in the Bible? When they, instead of saying, oh, Peter, I know you just mean that because you just want to help me. No, He turns around and yells at him, kick thee behind me, Satan. I mean, God does not talk like demons. If you can't read the Bible and see that He's completely different in the way He interacts with us than the demons, and I don't know what book you're reading, because I can read the Bible and go, wow, there's no chit-chat with God. It's all down to business, And I think, Scott, that's really, for me, I like it better because I spoke with demons my whole life, and I really prefer the way the Holy Spirit addresses me, because He'll put a word or a thought in my mind, or show me a demon that I need to go after, or whatever, or where the demons that are attacking me are coming from, who's doing it, whatever. And He just shows me those things, puts those thoughts in my head, and that's the end of it. That's it. No more. And I really much prefer that, don't you, to the chit-chat?
Well, that discernment brings peace. Whenever I have a calmness over my spirit, and, we've talked about that, we get a confirmation, a witness. And the people that I used to be with in the Deliverance ministry, we'd call it a witness. We got a confirmation in our spirit. And it didn't have anything to do with euphoria. It didn't have anything to do with sadness. There was a check. And in that, confirmation then was the direction of what to do next. See, that's the other thing. See, we then know which way we're to go. Are we going to go left or are we going to go right? And there's a defined direction. That's how you know. So thank goodness, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit, because without you, we couldn't do any of this. This would be, working in the flesh. And when you're working in the flesh, there's the devil. There's those things that are demonic. Demons. Let me reiterate them. By the way, if anyone teaches you that demons and fallen angels are the same, they're incorrect. They're either part of the problem and they're lying to you, or they just don't know what they're saying. There's a definition. Now, there are other things. We see things that there are creatures around the throne of God. We know that there are creatures that seem to be coming through the veil, and that many of them are here. So there's a whole hodgepodge of who knows what, kind of like the Addams family, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But the point of it is that since Jesus is the creator, now when it says scorpions and serpents, now you understand that, why there's a little variance in what he was saying, because we have everything from A to Z. And in that, it's still evil. It's still demonic, whether it's, quote, a demon in specific or whatever else you want to call it, and or fallen angel, it is evil. It is an abomination. It is rebellious against God. It is God's enemy. And that's the other definition. Julie, you and I were talking about, praying and loving our enemies. Well, again, the definition of that, we need to comprehend then who is God's enemy. Are we to pray for God's enemy? No. So when we understand reptilians who are already of the serpent seed, who are of Satan, are you going to pray for Satan? That's the same thing. So Satan, I hope everything goes good for you. It's ridiculous. Evil. See, the church never taught you what evil is. And because they didn't, you're confused of thinking, of conglobing everything together. You're mixing it up. And I've been guilty of it too. So I can say this. I can comprehend what you're experiencing. And I somewhat understand why you reject some of the things we say. It's the brainwashing. Whenever I was in, doing the prisoner handling thing, let me tell you, when there's some big boys out there, I'm an average size guy. Okay? There are some guys, and Julie, you can ask your husband about this, it takes 2 handcuffs. Their shoulders and their arms are so stinking big, you cannot put them behind and have a normal handcuff, whether it's made by Peerless, Smith & Wesson, okay, which are 2 basic ones that are used a lot. You have to get your partners, or if you have a second one, sometimes you do, you got to chain them together so you can handcuff the guy. All right? Well, this guy wants to kill you. This guy wants to take your head off. This guy hates the fact that you draw breath on this earth. So how am I going to handle this guy? Am I going to be sweet and nice and sir, may I pray for you? Well, you certainly don't abuse, but you certainly don't take anything back. Because just like demons, they'll push you. Children do this. You know this if you've raised kids, that they'll push a parent to a point. Now, kids are more happy when they're under authority and direction, okay, and to be correction, because that sets a foundation around them to know the limit, to know that there's a parental guidance and love around them. Now, when it comes to let's say a hardened criminal, let's say a felon, okay. Now, I don't know whether you know this or not, but if we would go to make an arrest, and Julie, your husband can confirm this too. When you go to make a felon arrest, if he flees, you have the right to shoot him. I don't know whether you people know that or not, because a known felon who's got a felon warrant for him is then dangerous, that if they commandeer a vehicle someone will die. They'll run someone over. They'll kill somebody. They'll do whatever it takes to get away. So under the laws, the officer has the right to shoot them if they're a fleeing felon. Okay? So you need to understand that when you're dealing with evil, then you have to stand in full authority and do what is necessary to take care of business, because if you don't, someone else will die. And by the way, if that fleeing felon does kill somebody and you had a shot and it was provable in court, you could be held responsible for the death of that individual. Now, the courts are all messed up now. The courts are under corporate law and all this other junk. But when I was going through that, I entered into it in 85 up through, all the way through for 14 years. And things are different now. So I don't know what they're doing, but that's how we were taught. And we were, if you've got the shot, you take it, because someone's going to get hurt. If you have something in evil in front of you, you take the shot, because somebody innocent will die. That's what I'm trying to get through to you people. Look, Jesus was very clear about anyone that causes one of these little ones to stray. Were you not a child? Are you not to become as a child? Are we not to humble ourselves as a child? So when we allow our brother to stumble, then we're held accountable to it. So you need to take all this brainwashing that the church has been doing and understand that your enemy is the guy, that you're, whether it's your relative or whatever the deal is, but there's a whole separate group over here that is of the serpent seed, that is nothing but true evil, and they will kill you. They will slit your throat. And some of these guys, there were two people in my life that I had to deal with that when I looked in their eyes, I did not see a human being. I saw what someone probably sees in an alligator's eyes just before it clamps down onto them. It is not thought. It is not reckoning. It is not cognitive. It doesn't have anything to do with thought. It is a mechanical emotion of destruction for food consumption. Your food. And when I looked at these two individuals different times, first time I ever got creeped out, I knew this person would slit my throat in a heartbeat. Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to open up the prisons. You do realize that, right? That test was performed during Cuba during the 70s to see what would happen. They released the hardened criminals and basically said, you can get across this body of water and make it to the U.S., go for it. And that's what they did. And so a whole draft of these guys came in, Florida, in that whole area. I mean, so these guys were so desperate, some were in inner tubes. Think about this. They had a gallon of water and a gallon of gasoline. Wherever they got these things, I don't know. And you say, well, Scott, that's weird. What do they have a gallon of gasoline for? Because when a shark would come by, they would pour the gasoline in the water to ward it off. But, of course, they are all dehydrated and burnt because that gallon of water is not going to last. But the ones who made it were dangerous, and a lot of people who were liberal thought that they could love these guys. Oh, gee, we're so sorry you went through all this. Please come into my home. They were dead and weak. They were cut up in little tiny pieces. Please, you need to understand that true evil cannot be reformed. We must eradicate it. We cannot negotiate it. Go ahead, Julie.
Absolutely true. And knowing your enemies from God's enemies is really important, because you might have some lady you knew at the church and she smarted off or said something about you behind your back. That's what Jesus is saying. You have to forgive. These people, you have to forgive them. To just let it go. And when you realize that it's just demons, that other people have demons and their demons are trying to get you to jump or to bite on that hook, it's much easier to just let it go. That's how I look at it. So, but you're talking about, this nonsense of praying for non-human entities, and I know all these people in the churches don't believe that, but you know what? If they would give a modicum amount of research to look, they would see these people's eyes shifting all over the place. Their holographs are shifting in the light, and they would see all this stuff start happening. And then they would say, oh, man, something's going on here. Yeah, you think? But they don't want to know. So, you don't pray for reptilians, the fallen angels' children, and Lucifer and the fallen angels. I don't think we're supposed to be praying for them, and I'm sure not going to do it. So, but that's part of the brainwashing, too, from the churches. So just remember that you need to start replacing those things that you were told. You need to start replacing them with a proper perspective, because the way they're teaching you, you're supposed to just lay down and let anybody do whatever they want. Oh, they're going to come in and rape your daughter. Well, we just got to pray for the raper. Just pray for him that he'll find Jesus, and you're just going to sit there and do nothing. I mean, that's how ludicrous it gets. So just remember that they have actually trained you and brainwashed you to leave your common sense at the door. So don't let them do that. And one of the things, too, Scott, that I wasn't sure if you knew about or heard about, but they have what's called a Black Knight satellite. Have you heard of that by any chance?
No.
Okay, I have seen it. I did see it, and it actually appeared over Texas as well. And they're calling it the Black Knight satellite. And I thought it's very scary to see this thing in the air. And it was just hanging there, right? So there's something going on. So I decided to just look that up. And what I found was the numerology behind this satellite, so to speak, up in the air, is in the ordinal system it was 201, and 201 is like galactic numerology. Barack Obama is a reptilian. Reptilians, genetics lab, Gulf War syndrome, Merovingian Jesus, aliens underground, fascist narcissism, reptile host, cat acid lake, again referring to that lake. I'm hearing that a lot now is coming in with the latest numerology. That cat acid lake is constant. I'm seeing it all the time. It also references abortion is murder, but God destroys America, so it's something to do with whatever they're going to, that's exactly what the pastors and preachers of these Mason churches are actually saying. So that's going to be a reference to that. It also is a reference to alien blood, the alien age, inbreeding, and ordeal, bin Islam, as in bin Laden, okay? So these are some of the references that are with that number, actually, with the Black Knight satellite, and I found it very, very, very funny or coincidental that it coincides, because Black Knight satellite, with the S&K exception, is 8. It actually comes out to 84, which is Barack Hussein Obama's date of birth, 8/4. And it is like Savior, it's like Jesuit in simple gematria, and it's like Obama in Jewish gematria, and divide and conquer in Pythagorean gematria. It also is like 78, or 75, Black Knight satellite in the English reduction system, and it's like 75 is like alien, blind, decoded, Andromeda, eternal, guardian, thelemic, skull, and Scottish rite. So it has a lot of very nefarious embedded meanings in there, what they're trying to tell you it is. So I'm finding a lot of this stuff. And it's absolutely joyful wickedness, paternal ancestors, Jesus not crucified. This is absolute oral sex from Satan was another one in the simple gematria. I found famines, the last days. That was also an embedded code in simple gematria. Prophet and civilians It was also another code, kill, karma, the seal of Satan or seal of Saturn, officer and military. So some of this goes into the embedding goes into stuff like skin, to do with the skin of the reptilians, the divide, a lot of witchcraft with black cat, black symbolism. It also has a lot to do with disease, genocide, under a general, so I think I know who that's a reference to, Masons, the Torah, the Benedict, and we know who that is, Benedict Arnold, the traitor, shot, forehead, as in being shot in the forehead, the Judas goat, which I'm sure you guys have probably heard of that, and the Higgs hoax. Now, one of the reasons I found that very interesting, the Higgs hoax is in reference to the Higgs boson. It's supposed to be how I don't know, Scott. The Higgs boson. It's in the atmosphere. I don't remember in English how to say it, but do you remember what that is in English?
No.
It's like the Van Allen radiation belt.
The Van Halen radiation belt.
It's like that. Higgs boson. It's another one of the. I don't know how. I'm sorry, my English is not very good with that stuff because I usually only read it in Spanish. But it's to do with that kind of stuff. The outer quote outer space, right? And everybody that's looked into it, that's actually studied this and the flat Earth and all of these things, has found that the Higgs boson thing is completely a hoax. It's just a hoax, and this radiation belt that's over the Earth, we know that there's something like that there because that is what keeps the fallen angels, and because everybody thinks the fallen angels are somewhere else, but they're actually here. We have more than one dimension in this terrarium that we live in. They're here. They're just in a different dimension. And by the way, most of them are coming in now. And all of the lesser gods are already here and already incarnated in human bodies. So what I mean by that is you better get your boots on, okay? You better get your combat boots on and load your guns. Have them oiled and have them ready. And I mean Holy Spirit guns. I mean, you have other weapons as well, too, but you better learn how to use the Holy Spirit. Scott, you and I both have noticed stuff that's going on. And then when they're talking about this Black Knight satellite, I'll try to shoot you a picture of that because it was very nefarious. And it was hanging in the air over El Paso, Texas. And there was another one that was last year. It was a black cube that came down out of the sky. And El Paso is not very far from me. And actually my folks live over there and in Las Cruces. And so everybody could see it. And a girl took a picture of it. And my aunt and uncle lived there. And everybody saw it. It was this big cube, black cube that came down out of the atmosphere. And it just sat there and hung over the city for an hour, 2 hours. It was just there for the longest time. So this thing that I saw called the Black Knight satellite is pretty scary looking. So I will send you a picture of that, Scott, and maybe you can post it on the website so people can see it. But everything I read you is the associated embedded codes that go with that, and none of it was good. And it's all, telling you what technology it is. It's Satan. Barack Obama is this. You're just seeing aliens. And by the way, if anybody sees anything in the sky and you get a picture, please send it to me because I have so many of those collected. Chris Archer did a video on it. He's done a couple, but there were so many of them that I had come across. Scott, there's some strange goings-on in the skies. People are seeing literally orbs just shooting out of a rainbow, shooting out of lightning, coming from these strange anomalies in the sky, orbs, blue orbs coming in. All of that, what you're seeing, is fallen angels and spiritual entities. That's what you're looking at. and they are coming into our dimension. Do you understand? 2 suns, 3 suns, 4 suns. Oh, I saw 3 suns. I got a picture. And I get the picture and look at it and go, well, by golly, there's 3 suns there. And then people don't understand what's happening. Let me tell you, those are crafts, okay? If you could see what's actually out there over us, we are covered with all types of crafts. They're up there. They're all getting ready to make their grand entrance. Do you understand? This is all going on. And they're getting ready to shoot into this whole situation and make this fake alien invasion. This is what's coming sooner rather than later. And that's why you're seeing all these things hanging around in the sky, because they've got their ships in place. They've got things in place up there. And that's another reason why they try to keep the chemtrails in certain areas going when they're bringing in all kinds of stuff. That's what they're doing. They're up there doing things at night they don't want you to know. So anyway, Scott, I know that's that black satellite thing really, because I know what a satellite looks like, and that looks like some kind of technology I have never seen before. So I'll send you that picture so maybe you can look into it.
Yeah, I think Planet X is actually an entity that's out there. Whether you subscribe to the flat Earth or not, the proximity of things would indicate to me that it's actually some kind of entity. I was just quickly looking at Higgs boson. That this is what led to the God particle search. I'm surprised that I don't know about this, because in and itself would be something to consider when it comes to radio communications for satellites and so forth. But it appears to be a phenomenon that comes and goes. It just appears, and it'll go away again. So this is quite interesting. But Julie, does that not sound that since it's the God particle relation, that it's actually a veil? It's actually a porthole that opens and closes. That something comes in, emits from it, whatever. CERN, some of the foundations off of this originates back to the 60s. So I don't know. I have to look into that more. But as far as things that come into us, things that come to us, this is a time to not let our guard down, to take every thought captive, to verify it against the Word of God, to test the Spirit. Whether it's through electronic means of mind control, whether you've been influenced of brainwashing, the point of it is that there is truth. And it's so when you go to your prayer closet, and it's funny when I talk to people about their prayer closet, some people don't even know what I'm talking about. And it's your relationship. You're sitting down, and see, this is the one thing about what Christ did. He allows us to speak to our Father, where these other religions have nothing to do with it. If anything, you're actually speaking to Satan. And in this communication that you have, then in that relationship which has been reestablished by Christ, then you're given the direction, then you're given the truth. And you'll know it because of the peace that you get. I just wanted to bring something up. I talked about it a long time ago. Again, about the severity of those people out there, or entities, or those who are demon-possessed that do not have your best interest in mind. Now, many of you, as I've told, I lived in Arizona for 47 years. I went away to California for a few years to be under a program to come up as an engineer, a field engineer in radio diathermy and convection, which is very large transmitters. And while I was over there at the Arizona State Prison in Florence, and I've been there to work on some of their systems later in years, there was a family by the name of Tysons in 1978. Okay, the father managed to communicate to his sons, his 3 sons, to break out of the prison. Now, Tyson was already in there for killing a prison guard. Now, they managed to do that. They managed to break him out, okay, and in their fleeing, quartzite, you know where quartzite is, Julie, You're familiar with it. There was a Marine sergeant and his wife, their 22-month-old, a niece, were traveling from Yuma, that's where you lived once, to like Nebraska. And these and the vehicle that they were in, the Tysons, got a flat tire. So the sergeant, being of good heart, stopped to help these guys, not knowing who he was dealing with. Well, within a short period of time, they found the sergeant, the wife, the 22-month-old, and the 15-year-old all dead. These animals killed them. Okay, and I understand that there was even an automatic weapon used. Do you understand? Who machine guns a child? Now, this led to an all-out that every man that had a firearm to carry it. Every law enforcement, every military, anybody that was anybody was looking for the Tyson gang. Now, they eventually found them. I think it was down towards Gila, and they went through a couple roadblocks. They managed to get them to stop, and the father managed to escape. That was the one that was originally doing time. Well, they eventually found him dead in the deserts within 3 days. As I mentioned, this took place in August. August is no place to be in an Arizona desert. So here's two examples of that there are enemies that we have to be careful of, and that you cannot survive the elements if they overwhelm you. I just, every time I think about this, because I remember it being such a big deal, and you would still run into people who would say, well, they're redeemable. No, they're not. They sold their souls. They're murderers. They murdered a child. Okay, these people are animals. Now, do people turn around? Yes. Is it across the board? No, it is not. So just understand to know who your enemy is and who God's enemy is. Getting back to the satellite thing, that's quite interesting. I would assume that something like that would show up on Doppler radar. And this is interesting because those TV stations that have their own weather, some of them actually have their own radars. Because you're not too far from Dallas. What's the other town you're close by? Your first town there?
Fort Worth.
Right. So those are big enough that the news people might even have their own radar. So I'll guarantee it shows up on their radar, and I'm just going to guess that because everything's put on file. I'm going to guess that those things are confiscated in a very short period of time, because I don't care what it is. The radio waves, as I mentioned with moisture, that's why it works so well when it comes to rain clouds and stuff, that there's going to be an image that appears, and so those things would show up on there. Just like the boomerang that was over Phoenix. I was there in 97 when that took place. I didn't see it for myself. That was a different time when I was dealing with some things. But if I had, and by the way, I did see things later on that they tried to say that these were nothing more than flares. Now, even if a flare is on a parachute to stay up, as long as it can, these things that I saw even myself over the gunnery ranges that were down south of Arizona, I saw them myself when I was out working on some wells. I sat there and watched them hover in the air for 10 minutes. Now, somebody took some videotape of them with a high res of the time and turned it over to one of the universities that was able to look at the spectrum of light with on video. And none of them that were there displayed anything of the natural white light, blues, reds, and greens. These gave off an emission that was completely different from anything else. And even to this day, they'll still dispute saying that these were actually flares that the military uses that are able to suspend themselves for a longer period of time so people can see them for flagging. But again, unless they have their own propulsion system, they're not going to just stay in one place for 10 minutes. They may be up longer because of the parachute, but they're not going to stay there. So, anyways. All right, we got about 20 minutes. What do you want to close out with here, Julie?
Well, don't forget that this month is full of satanic holidays. And this is, it just seems like it's getting worse because they're starting to do, they always have the new moon and those, those type full moon, new moon things as well. But this month is just really bad. So if you could just continue to pray, the solstice, the Walpurgis is coming up. So, this is just one of those, they'll have the fall harvest, thing going on here in August with the full moon. And so just continue to pray, against their activity, because this is just one of those months when we always see a lot of stuff going on. You'll see probably more children that you'll hear get kidnapped, and it's just really bad, Scott, what they're doing. And they're stepping up their game, I noticed, with the amount of holidays. They only had so many, and then they started adopting all of the Druidic holidays, and then they started adopting, other any excuse, that they could possibly use to go and kill more children. That's what they're doing. And I've heard through the grapevine that that they are planning on rolling out their Messiah in 2017. So that would mean that a lot of things have to happen, like now, because when he comes out, the Bible says it'll be, I guess there won't be any, there'll be all-out war, and he's going to come and be the one that brings peace. So I'm assuming that they're going to try to step things up and just make it as horrible as they can between now and then when they get planned to do this. But anyway, I would just ask for a lot of prayer for these children, because there are so many that are actually, and be kidnapped as well. They do kidnap these children. So, if you can pray for the children, that maybe they could just be in the right place at the right time to be freed and not be caught up by these people. Because I'll tell you, these guys, they have no mercy. And by the way, a lot of what's going on with the Queen of England and what have you over there, those people are actually really starting to step up their game. I did speak with a person in Germany, and he said that he is noticing that the Muslims are starting to act different, very, very different. They're starting to become more, how do you say, violent, or it's the word where it's fundamentally crazy.
Aggressive.
And they're starting to do that. And he happens to live in an apartment complex that's completely full of Muslims. So he's noticing a difference. And they're starting to actually go and hang out with those people more and more, the ones that are, supposed to be more aggressive and what have you. So he's noticing a difference too, Scott, in the way that these people are behaving. And that is not, that's not, he said they used to, would invite him to have a little food with them or something here and there, but no more. That's just not going on anymore. And so he's seeing a difference in the way they're acting, and they're actually saying, you guys are mean to us, all you, and you guys take, do this to us and that to us. So, not good. I mean, this is, and also this month is the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. This is when it's like the halfway point. So you'll notice that they're going to do a ceremony. It's a festivity, a pagan festivity for the god Lu. And then they bake stuff and, sacrifice their things and what have you. So that's what they're going to be doing this month. And the autumn equinox is coming. So just remember, this is when the spirit, the veil separating the spirit world from the physical is really thinning, okay, as we approach the autumn equinox. So really, really important. And if the Muslims are starting to jump on the bandwagon, the ones that he's not had any problem with, but they're starting to speak against, all of us. You guys don't want us, and you're mean, and you treat Muslims like second-class citizens. And, well, here they get the carpet rolled out for them. I don't know what they're talking about, but, they're starting to sing that song and starting to complain about other people, white people, doing all this and that, and keeping them down, and starting to do their associations with these more aggressive type of Muslims. So I didn't find that very encouraging. I really wish he would get out of there, but that's exactly what he was talking about, Scott.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. Segregation, trying to, indicate that there's, a division amongst people regardless of race is exactly what they do. When you start segregating, when you start dividing people, then you can control them, and then you can, just as okay, listen to this. When a Jezebel comes into a, quote, church, the first thing she does is she segregates. She'll go to the pastor, she'll go to the women, she'll go to the men, she'll go to whoever, and she'll sow discord. She'll tell them this, say, well, they said this about you, and then go over to the other ones, and they said that about, and so there's a division of uncertainty. There's a division that takes place to cause people not to want to befriend each other, that the other person is now seen as the enemy. And that is a very dangerous situation. There was a shooting recently in Milwaukee. It was a black officer shot a black man, and the individual was told to put a weapon down that was carrying 23 rounds. So I assume that it was some kind of carbine or M6 or whatever. I don't know, but 23 rounds. But the point of it is that there's the black community is up in arms again. Now, we're not there to hear what's going on, but I'm sure that there are those who that are, amongst them, the provocateurs is the term, to get them upset, to get them mad, to cause more disgruntledness. So with what you're talking about, then there's a uniting of individuals that were on the fence, or those that were even on the other side of the fence, that are now, because of blood is thicker than water, that they will make that choice. See, that's the other thing, people. And as bad as it was during World War II, that the decision was made to take the Japanese that were citizens here and to put them in internment camps type situation. I get that. It's sad. I'm sorry that happened. But at the same time, there was no guarantee that they weren't going to take sides with the original nation they were from. I mean, could you imagine? So let's say that there's a whole community, and in fact, I have to look this up. I'm sure there were Americans over in Japan, and I remember some stories, but I can't recall them at the moment. They would do the same thing. Period. So, and then there's the spiritual aspect of it too. Whenever you have those that have been programmed, that have been brought into a mentality that they have something deserved to them, and it's not their fault. This was Lyndon B. Johnson, that old rascal, with what's called the Great Society. Some of you might be too young. I was in high school when that was rolled out, and so Google that. And so it was one of the first attempts then to take those that were of that particular race and and put them under the food stamps and unemployment and pay for how many kids you had and all this other stuff. And so it took them out of being something that had some worth to give back to society. And then when you take that away from them, because that's what this is all about, as sure as the sun's going to rise tomorrow, that's what they're going to do. They're going to take this all away, and these people are going to go nuts. They're going to riot just like they're rioting now. They're burning. You know, we saw that. In fact, when I lived in Los Angeles, when I first moved to L.A., not knowing one place for another, I moved to Pico Rivera, Whittier. Now, it was a good time for me, but shortly after that, those areas, and we know that too, Downey, Whittier, Compton, and those areas for when the black riots, emerged, especially when Martin Luther King was assassinated. Literally, they burned out whole areas of neighborhoods. They burned, streets of stores. It was a terrible time, terrible situation, and I'm guaranteeing you that this was all done by plan. Provocateurs were amongst them, got them all riled up. Provocateurs were also the ones during the Civil War. You had the guys in the South, you had the guys in the North, and they were stirring everything up. And they're going to do the same thing again. They are doing it again. And again, it'll be a reason to declare, quote, martial law. So, anyways, Julie, do you have anything else? If not, I'll just close it out. Did I lose you? You on mute?
Yeah, my voice is trying to go. It keeps trying to go out on me the whole time I've been talking, so I think I better let it rest for the night. Okay.
All right, so I'll just close it out. And, again, I want to thank everyone for supporting us. This is, we've got some people love us, some people hate us. You can't please everybody. But all we're trying to do is bring the truth for you to take to your prayer closet, for you to research. Because what we experience, what we see, is the very fact of what Lucifer is doing. He goes about, around to see who he may devour. Who he may devour. Doesn't mean he can. So if you're in sin, if you have open doors, if you have generational curses, you're right for the picking. Now you know why life sucks for you. Why you're broke, why you're on welfare, why you're on substance, why you're on these things. That somewhere something was done. Now, even though you may get the thing broke off, there's still a road of recovery. It may take a while because so much damage was done. Now, there is miraculous turnarounds, and then there are some that just seem to take a while. But the point of it is that there's friends, there's light at the end of the tunnel, there's hope. To restore hope back to you is an incredible deliverance in itself. When we say deliverance, deliver us from evil, as the Lord's Prayer says, well, what does that mean? That means then we're set apart. Then they can't get to us. We're just like I mentioned that, and I've told the story before, that I almost drowned once on the Salt River below Saguaro Lake. There was a whirlpool, and I was 14, 13, 12, I don't remember how old I was. And I ended up in this whirlpool, and I got sucked down, and I couldn't get out of it. And I didn't know anything about swimming down. If you can swim down, you've got a greater chance of getting out of it than trying to come up, because you're actually fighting it, where if you go down, you're going with it, and then you can be blown out from it. Now, whether that works or not, I don't know, because that wasn't what I experienced. And so there I was drowning, and a peace came over me and said, just let go. Just let go. And so I did. And the next thing I know, I felt something around my wrist because I had my hand up, and apparently my fingertips were at the top of the water. Excuse me. And some guy had crawled out onto a Palo Verde tree or a mesquite tree, I don't remember what it was. And he was an Arizona State University football player, so he was of strength and he was of size, and the limb leaned down far enough because of his weight. He reached down in the water and he grabbed my wrist and he yanked me out of there. I can't even imagine the strength that was required under the vacuum, because if you've ever tried to lift a boat out of the water, the vacuum that it can make, he pulled me out. He swung me over to his buddy that was halfway on the limb. He grabs my wrist, and now I'm standing on the shore. So from just let go, the quiet little still spirit in me, to standing on there and everything was okay. The point of it was, I was delivered. I was delivered from death. I was brought out of a situation that was destructive. And so when we see being delivered from evil, remember, evil is here to destroy you. So you're not just coming away from something that's bad, you're avoiding death. You're also avoiding the second death, the lake of fire. Okay? So the Lord's Prayer is very crucial to us and reveals to us that evil, again, can live in us if we have curses, if we have open doors, if we have an iniquitous environment that we've been, partaking in. We've given demons legal right. So it's very crucial, very important to repent. And if some group tells you that repentance is not necessary, that it was all done on the cross, yes, it was done on the cross. But each individual, through free choice, still needs to make the effort to move forward towards God. If you want to stand where you're at, because everyone says, well, God will meet you where you're at. Well, to a point, but again, if you are disobedient and you're going to stand in your sins and you're not going to have to come to the understanding that you are a dirty, rotten sinner and that you need to repent, and in that repentance, we humble ourselves. When you humble yourself, you draw closer. Just like someone who's in the desert and they're perishing, they're crawling, and they're literally every step or every attempt to move forward takes 1 ounce of energy of life away from them because of the exertion. They're going towards survival. That's the way we are. I mentioned about those things of baptism. I'll bring it up again. All right, tomorrow night on Scott Hensler Network, we're going to continue with the Freemason renouncing prayers. And please, it's very important to go to it. Good night. Good night, Julie.